Welcome to StratNews Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan. India has an Arctic policy and a law on Antarctica. So what's the difference and why the difference? We also have the 44th expedition to Antarctica that is getting underway later this year. So what are they doing there? Any commercial spin-offs from their so many expeditions? And are we doing anything original? All these questions for my guest here, Dr. Ravichandran, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences. So welcome, glad to have you.
Thank you.
So my first question.
Yes.
This 44th expedition is taking off in November, you were telling me.
Yes.
What is the goal of this expedition? What do you hope to achieve?
Okay, we have two stations. One is Bharati and another one is Maitri. So in the Bharati and Maitri, roughly about 50 people are staying there. So every year there will be rotation. So now 50 people, one in Bharati 25 people, another Maitri in 25 people. We have to have a station infrastructure as well as food and other things we have to keep. So that is the main purpose to have our expedition, 44th expedition or every year expedition, annual expedition. But once they go there, then there are about science team and other people. So what science they have to do. So it is a long process. Each universities or institution, they select what are the science want to do. As you know that Antarctica is mainly meant for science and peace.
Yeah.
So basically Antarctica is a natural laboratory. So scientists will go there and do physics of Antarctica, chemistry of Antarctica, biology of Antarctica, everything they look at it. So basically this expedition, they have already sought out the various scientific theme what they have to do. Certain things are permanent theme. Permanent means ice core drilling. We want to have what is the reconstruction of past climate. Sediment core drilling, what is the reconstruction of past climate in terms of millions of years. And also we want to have reveal the past history, especially when Antarctica and India was together before Gondwana.
Gondwana.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we want to know how real it is, when it has happened, which part of India is joined together in Antarctica. That is one of the reasons Bharati we have Lastman Hills in Antarctica, where we have situated in our station. So we expect that our people, there is a hypothesis is there, the Mahanadi river basin and Pritz Bay in Antarctica was together.
I
So
see.
we are trying to reveal that history. So we want to have a rock samples here and there, and we are going. So in Bharati, main program is to unlock the history. That is one thing. Whereas in Maitri, our main job is to reveal the past history from the sediment and ice core. Apart from that, there are many other areas will be working on different scientists, either in biology, how the microbes are there in cold climate, or how the weather system is happening there, and whether it is any connection between tropical and maybe the Antarctic weather. So what is happening today in Antarctica, maybe tomorrow it may happen here.
Yeah.
So is there any predictive value there? So all these things we look at it in the expedition annual every year. But every year some of the things will change, small things. But the basic things will be there. It is mainly climate. That's the main thing.
So in terms of maybe commercial spin-offs,
Yes.
or maybe for health or something of that kind,
Yeah.
are there any gains we have made from this?
Actually, Antarctica is not mainly meant for what is called commercial. Of course, in Antarctica mainland, it is entire area is ice.
Ice, yeah.
Very small portion, maybe 5% till the outcrop land. So there maybe in summer, maybe some fungi or something may come. From that, we are also trying any pharmaceutical things are there or that we are looking at it. But it is not meant for commercial purpose in Antarctica. But at the same time, Antarctica is also includes Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is basically Southern Ocean ecosystem is the largest ecosystem in terms of protein. So Southern Ocean is having Antarctic grill. That Antarctic grill has a lot of values. So there is a commercial value, but India has not ventured, even though we have a quota, we have not ventured that grill fisheries. But of course, grill is very important for omega-3 content and other things, but we have not exploited the grill fisheries. Other than that, in Antarctica, not much commercial values. It is, as I told you, it is a science and peace. That's the main drive. And also various other things, societal impact will be there, whether the monsoon, whether impact or not.
So are other countries exploiting the resources there, the marine resources?
Yeah, but many countries are Antarctic grill, for example, Norway. They are doing
live on
it,
fish.
Japan, China, they are all doing with because that investment is very large.
Okay.
But there is now this year there are already 2 of the Indian industries have come forward to go for grill fisheries, because there is a quota each country. Only this much you can do it. Even somebody will come on board our vessel and they will see that how much you are catching. Beyond this quota you cannot catch like that, but our quota ourselves we are not catching.
Yeah.
There are many countries are doing in Antarctic consultative status countries. There are another mechanism, convention of law of the what is called camel law. So under that the same thing Antarctic governance, that camel law is living resources mainly, so that they have a quota system and other things.
So in terms of health, any benefits there? I mean, in terms of the research that you do there,
Yeah.
does it have?
See, some of the initial things it has come out, some of the things which is a molecule we have found that some of the molecule it is useful for what is called for cancer, sorry not cancer, it is a TB. So we have initial result found, some of the precursors we got it, but still lot more to do in that directions research. Of course, now this Antarctica, as I mentioned, it is not for commercial exploitation or anything. Only exploration is possible. Exploitation is not in place.
So when we send expeditions every year and so many other countries are involved,
Yes.
Does it make better sense to collaborate with others rather than do everything on our own? Or are we trying to build capacity?
Yeah, exactly. We basically in Antarctica is international collaboration is must. Of course, we are working on various countries like our neighbor is Russia in Maitri. We are working with them many of the things, working with the Russian team. And also we have last few years back, we have a large 3 years, continuous 3 years, we have a expedition called Mad Ice, basically to understand the bottle ice hink in the some of the periphery coastal regions. So we have joint expeditions with of course Norwegians stayed in our station.
Okay.
So every year our people will go with the large containers, they will be dragged and go on to 100 kilometer away, they will go and do research. And we have done for about 2 months time like the, so one container full of food and other thing will go, another container they have to stay, another container, like that it goes. So we have a collaboration with Norway. And again 2-3 years back we have a collaboration with Japan. Basically we want to recover the sediment from the lake, Antarctic lake, because Antarctic lake is very pristine. So if you drill it in the sediment core and you can get the what is called reconstruction of past history millions of years. So we have done the ice core, sediment core from the our lake where we are getting the water in Maitri station, there we have drilled. So that is with Japan. Now we are going with the UK for again ice core drill. We have done about 150 meter, but we want to go much more deeper. So we are working on with what is called UK and other team. So we have international collaboration with many other countries.
So what are you trying to establish by going so deep?
Yeah, see basically if you are going for 100 meter, you will get only 100 meter roughly history. But if you go for 1000 meter, you will get a 1000 meter history. So we want to go past history as you go down. So Antarctica is having average depth is 3 kilometer.
My gosh.
So we have to go further deep. Why we want ice core is ice core, each one is a interannual scale, that means very fine resolution you will get it. Whereas sediment will have a decadal or century scale. So that's why everybody interested in ice core, and it is not undisturbed. So that is why everybody want to look at it. It is not that somebody also doing, but it doesn't mean that same thing, but a different location, different variabilities in Antarctica itself. So we are situated in eastern Antarctica. So in eastern Antarctica, how it is changing, whether that change in 1000 years, what is the monsoon, how 1000 years changes. So what is the relation we want to establish so that it will have a predictive value in future decades.
And any preliminary data that you have got, that you have analyzed?
Yeah, many things, because now how much temperature changes in Antarctica as well as ours, we are able to match it. And also we have a teleconnection between the Antarctica and India.
A teleconnection?
Teleconnection means you can have, suppose in Southern Ocean, something is warm, the low pressure changes. Because of that, the monsoon winds changes. So, and Antarctic water also, what is the role of that? So there are many things we are able to explore the relation between tropical monsoon as well as Southern Ocean and Antarctica. So that is we want to have, it is a societal impact and predictive value. So if you want to have a predictability of next year or next season, you have to always depend on the oceans as well as the sea ice and other things to be in our model, so that we can have a better predictability in the model.
Are we too focused on climate change? Are we not looking at other issues?
No, it is climate change is a primary, but at the same time we are able to do microbiology, we are able to do chemical these things, biogeochemistry and cold biology, how the cold environment is using. And there are many small innovation type of projects. Innovation means somebody, especially I want to see in Antarctica how the space weather changes, because space weather studies, the best place is Antarctica.
Okay.
So, and also there are some, what are the ions and other things are available, radiation, how much is there, Baba Atomic Research Center they are doing. Space station, we have our two big space stations they established to receive the data, because the polar orbiting satellites always revisit Antarctica or Arctic frequently. So we want to receive the data frequently, so we kept a station in Antarctica. Two of the stations they kept in Bharati station, so where we get the data, ISRO, Baba Atomic Research Center, and there are about a DST institution, they are looking at the astronomy and astrophysics.
Okay.
And there are about IMD and meteorological community looking at the weather and climate. And there are about some other DST institution and DBT institution, they are looking at the biology and how the molecule, how they are able to withstand that cold, and what is their DNA structure, and whether that DNA structure is useful anything for our purpose. So all these things, the various kinds, they are looking at it. But the major focus is climate. Yeah.
Are we, in a sense, reinventing the wheel in Antarctica? Because other countries have been there far longer.
Yes.
And they probably have masses of data which possibly we could also tap into, and we probably are tapping into.
Yeah.
So are we, in a sense, reinventing the wheel? Are we trying to build our own capacity?
No, Antarctica is a very big area. Okay. So what they are measuring in South Pole, or what they are measuring in Western Antarctica, what they are measuring in Eastern Antarctica, totally different.
Okay.
So we share the data. In Eastern Antarctica, in our location, this is the change is happening in the atmospheric field or geomagnetic field, geoelectric field, or the space weather, everything changes, this is what changing. In your area, what is changing. So we interchange the data and they look at it. It is not that one person measure the data in one place, that is enough. No, there are spatial variability, there are temporal variability. So that is why each country has to contribute in order to get the totality. That's the thing.
So when you look at, say, the monsoon,
Yes.
we are now
Yes.
heading into the monsoon.
Yes.
What is the kind of sense that we are getting? Is it going to be normal? Is it excess?
See, basically the monsoon generally in the coming decades or further, the average rainfall more or less will be same. But the spatial and temporal pattern will be changed.
Meaning the periodicity?
Not periodicity. See, for example, average rainfall in summer monsoon is 87 centimeter. That 87 plus or minus 10 will be there every year. Even future it will be little bit more. But we will be encountering into two problems. Number one problem is the more heavy rainfall in some place, other places drought. But when you average it, both are same. But we are encountering two problems.
Yeah.
So nowadays the extreme rainfalls are more than the drizzle and light rainfalls. That is not good sign. That is what happening, because the water, because of warming air, its holding capacity is become higher. That means water holding capacity is higher and higher.
So floods and
Drought will be what is called in the coming decades. It may be possibilities, but at the same time, the average maybe you can say that if you all India rainfall, if you see that, it will be normal, because when it is having flood more than 20% excess, here 20% down, I mean more total is average. So that's a problem is going to happen. But the average in the all the climate models projection says that the monsoon will be normal and just above normal total rainfall, but the spatial pattern will be different.
So can you tell in which area there could be more or less? Or
in over the period now in climatological sense, the northeast is a heavy rainfall area, and the Thar desert is deficient. So now here high rainfall and low rainfall here, but now that shift is going to happen here. Now Rajasthan will beneficial when much more than the present. That means they may get rain more.
So there will be less in northeast.
Northeast will be less. Now Sirabunji may not be the highest rainfall. So it will be reduction. So it is happening that reduction in northeast and slightly increase in Rajasthan and the desert area. So that will go on. So that earlier it was like this. Now slowly it is coming like this. The change will be.
So is there a pattern to this? Is it been happening hundreds of years ago?
Yeah, but it is now over the hundreds of data we are seeing the patterns, how it is and how it will evolve. That is why we want to have always past history. So how the rhythm goes, we are following it. So that is why the past history is very important for predicting the future.
So these floods we've seen in Dubai, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it is all western disturbance, and it is definitely all part of that.
Tell me, we have an Arctic policy.
Yes.
And an Antarctica law.
Yeah.
So why the difference? What is the difference?
Yeah, basically, as you know that India is very polar region is very important for, even though we are in the tropical regions. One is in North Pole, one is South Pole. The Antarctic law, because it has to be governed by the certain principles and guidelines stipulated by the Antarctic Treaty. When you go to Antarctica, these are the things you have to do, environmental and all other things you have to be very strictly you have to follow. So that norms, it is a law, regulation. So that has
basically
to be,
protocols
has to be followed, environmental and other things. And whereas in Arctic, it is a policy. What is your important governing principle for policy? Suppose I want to do scientific research. We have about 6 pillars in Arctic policy. Suppose scientific and research and connectivity and environmental protection and there are capacity building and there are many, there are about 6 pillars we have. So that under that things, how we can contribute to the Arctic system. Okay, so Arctic, you know that there are much more warmer in the when compared to Antarctic. The trend. So now and Arctic influence also as in terms of science or climate is much more than Antarctic. So that is why we are more concerned about Arctic rather than Antarctic sometime, because we want to be, because the immediate effect will be very soon in Arctic. What is happening in Arctic, it is not local, it is entire global. But what is that global may in India? What is how we are going to affect or how we are going to influenced by the Arctic change? I personally feel Arctic is mainly 4 things will be there. One is science or in the climate change, how the monsoon is going to happen again. The monsoon, it is also affecting sea ice.
I see.
And sea ice affecting monsoon. It is a feedback mechanism. That is also another teleconnection. So that is one important. And second thing is shipping route. When more and more sea ice loss is there, how the shipping route will change. That is another thing. And the third thing is, you know, in there the resources, non-living resources are plenty in the Arctic. Plenty means it's about 30% of gas and oil reserves are there. Now how, of course it is not our things, it is our countries around that, but the center there is a what is called under UNCLOS what is that to be done. So there are a lot of, whether it will be climbed under CLCS or anything, there are a lot of things are there. There is a resources, if there is a resources, we have to be partnered with them or how we can get a pie out of it. That's resources in terms of non-living resources. And fourth one is maybe even living resources, for when it is warmer and warmer, the living resources, mid-latitude species is migrate to poles. So they will have a rich living resources, non-living resources, then connectivity, shipping route, then the monsoon. So all these things are very important. It will affect us also. So hence we need to understand better. We need to involve them, collaborate with other countries to do understanding better, so that we can have what is the things India will be in future. That is one thing. At the same time, we also be involved in the Arctic affairs. Even though we are far away, we should be involved. It affects us and we affect them. So that's more important. That's why we need a policy. There is no governing like a strictly legislative things is not there because of that. So that's why here it is a policy and here it is a what is called law.
So that's why we don't have a polar policy.
We don't have common polar policy.
Okay.
So it is an Arctic policy. Of course, it will be good to have maybe in future polar policy together, including Himalaya. So Himalaya, Arctic, Antarctic. This is a frozen freshwater. So this frozen freshwater will be a major things in the future. Okay. So we need to have a policy maybe in the future together as a holistic way, all the three poles together.
Our budgetary outlays for Antarctica exceeds that of the Arctic. Is that correct?
It is almost one order high. So because it is, as I mentioned, we have maintaining 2 stations in Antarctica. For that we start from fuel, pin to food, everything we should take. Okay, and we have to go from icebreaker vessel and get what is called dumped all the materials, and whatever the waste you have to bring it back. So that is why we have to go for ship as well as aircraft, people who have to travel, all the things. It is a very expensive proposition. Whereas in Canada, what is called in Arctic, our station in Svalbard, you go by flight. Norway, from Norway you can go to Svalbard, and there it is a common facility. Food and other things, everything is common facility. Only you have to go and do science. No need of cooking or anything. But here
everything is taken care of.
Everything is taken care of, infrastructure as well as food and other things. So we have to pay, like a hotel is available, so you pay and get the things. But here you have to cook yourself. So you have to take your cook also, you have to take a medical doctor, because 1 year without unattended, you cannot come in between. Here anytime you can come, you have problem means you can come back. But there, everything unattended. Even if it is in, suppose in June month, you have a sick, no way you can bring them in Antarctica. It is very harsh, but we have to, that's why we have to equip enough infrastructure. You have to have a hospital, you should have a doctor.
So, I mean, looking at the carbon footprint here, it is huge.
This is what actually carbon footprint is good. That is what this Antarctic law and Antarctic treaty, they will be looking at it when you are going for a new station or anything, how much you are making it
observing the
carbon footprint and other things. That also they will be closely watching.
Would you say the future for the Antarctic would be kind of nations getting together and working together, rather, I mean, following the Arctic principle and applying the same?
In Antarctica is more or less, it is basically, it is a, it is a global common, peace and science. So everybody is working together. Even now we are planning to have working with, we are approaching US for maybe some collaboration. So everybody converging to work together as a common cause, and data sharing, and there are many things are common. But in even Arctic, we may not be having much data sharing and other things. But here it is very common. So that's the peace and science is a very important. Of course, the underground geopolitics will be there.
I want to come to that. You know, ultimately it's about geopolitics, isn't it? Everybody is laying the ground for something in the future that they don't know what it is. So
you see, maybe even people were thinking that Antarctic, this treaty, up to 2047 environmental protocol and other things will be over 48. But it is continuing. It is not that over. But in 2040s, okay, maybe 2040s, the polar region will be the very critical. Why I am telling that is because there are in Arctic, there may be no sea ice in summer. Then how geopolitics will go around?
Change, yeah.
Okay, that means ship can go anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And then the shipping corridor will change in Arctic. In Antarctic, maybe the more and more iceberg melting, and how much iceberg is what is called glacier is coming to the sea. Because of that, how much sea level rise will happen at that time. So that is another issue. Then the third one is Himalaya. Himalaya, 2 billion people are dependent on the Himalayan water. If it is no more water, or the water is depleting, then where is the, and people are increasing. One way population is increasing, other way water resources going down. So how the pressure will generate. So all these things will matter. So but in Antarctica there is a fresh water.
Yeah, there is.
So but at the same time we have to see how that fresh water will be utilized. It is very difficult. So definitely there will be a geopolitical will come in terms of polar things in 2040s, considering all three poles together. But we have to navigate how do we go in that directions. So we need to put in larger picture in that time. So that is why we are also, we need to augment, we need to increase our scientific presence or our strengthening our footprint there.
So, final question on the icebreaker.
Yes.
This has been talked about for quite some years. You know, I recall even with some of your predecessors, this was mentioned.
Yes.
What is holding it back?
Yeah, basically when we start icebreaker over the decade ago, we started with some budget estimate. Then we go for a tender. Then the budget estimates shoot out more than that. Then again we fall back. So it is going on every time. 2-3 times we failed in tendering process, and afterwards we come out with the Make in India policy. Then we have to change our why we cannot build in India. So that process was going on. Then we are able to convince that maybe partly we can build and partly can be done. So now we are working out to re-estimate the cost. So that estimate is the cost. Now we have already put up the government approval. So once it is government approved, then we can go for a tendering process.
And it's expensive, I presume.
It is expensive. Now it will be roughly about maybe 3,000 crore.
My God.
Yes.
And the training and the people to operate it and all that.
No, initially we will make it 5 years to who is going to build, they will operate. They will operate. But later on slowly we have to change it. Maybe our own people means maybe Shipping Corporation of India, some ex-Navy staff, or maybe some Navy can operate. So many opportunities are there to operate after 5 years.
Dr. Ravichandran, pleasure talking to you, and thank you for all that perspective on our Arctic and Antarctic policies.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's all we have for you on this edition of StratNews Global. Do tune in for our broadcasts of this kind. Thank you very much.